Welcome to another episode number 3 of the Jefferson Rogers podcast. Today we have a special guest, good friend of mine
Super special. Yeah.
Mr. Trevor Cowley.
Yes, sir.
Of the Real Business Owners podcast. And, I kind of felt bad on the way over here, like, wait a sec, I asked Trevor to come, and maybe I should have asked Kale too, but fuck it, I see you every day.
Yeah, we see each other every day. But, when you get in a pinch, dude, hit up Kel.
Yeah.
So you got another person that you could reach out to. So we're a twofer, right?
Absolutely.
So you can milk us dry.
That's
content,
a good one. That's a good one. Next time, I'll try and get Kel in without having to call him the day before.
Yeah. 2 days before. At least you gave me 48 hours. So.
Well, I appreciate you being here, man. I'm glad the wife gave you the go-ahead on such short notice. I know you're a busy man, and family stuff is important, but we're glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, man. Glad to be here. Glad to support you in everything you do. You're
Thanks,
kicking
brother.
ass, and it's been a wild ride to even watch you, so it's impressive. It really is. So you
Appreciate that.
You've took everything by the horns and just took full control of your destiny. Right? And not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people have done that, and not a lot of people have done it in the time frame that you've done it. So it is very impressive.
Been going hard, man. That's one of the questions that I have for you, too.
I know you have.
is, what I kind of attribute it to is my addictive personality. And when you look at successful people, most successful people that I know have an addictive personality in some way, shape, or form. So I was curious because I can pinpoint mine pretty good, that moment when I shifted from that addictive personality and all the negativity that came with it and all the direction that I was going with it, when I was able to adjust and point it in a specific direction towards positivity and growth, and started this mission of JKR Windows and personal development and going from 0 to 10 million in
just
what seems like
a blink of an eye.
Just a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Do you have a moment like that you remember?
The moment I would say that I started taking things very, very seriously is when my wife said she was pregnant. Right?
Chicken skin going. Yes.
Yeah, that's when things started getting real for me, right? Because I knew that I was no longer just responsible for myself. I knew that my decisions would now affect other people. Every decision that I make will be affecting somebody either in a positive way or a negative way. And I don't look at it any other way than that. There's no gray area. Either it's serving or it's not serving you, right? It's either serving your loved ones or it's not serving your loved ones. And so we weren't married at the time, fooling around, having a good time. Things happen, and she got pregnant. And so I remember that phone call very, very vividly. Walking out to go to lunch, I was standing on some stairs and I got the phone call and she says, "I'm pregnant." And I said, "Oh, fuck." That was like my first, it just hit me. I was like, is this really happening right now? It just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, where are you at? I'll come meet up with you or whatever. And at that time, we were dating, and I was still partying, still having a good time. Now, I wasn't using drugs at the time, but I replaced alcohol with drugs with alcohol.
Sure.
Right? So, like you said, an addictive personality, you're always going to be doing something, right? You're going to point that addictive personality in whatever direction. And I felt like I was doing good, even though I was blacking out 3 or 4 times a week because it was legal, right? I could go to the store and buy it. So it's
Get
fine.
pretty good at justifying it.
Exactly, right? The justification comes in to where you don't have to feel like shit about some of the decisions that you're making, right? Everybody can justify crappy decisions if they want to, right? There's always things that are happening in life that you can say, you know what, this happened, I'm going to do this. And that's just letting yourself off the hook for actually honoring what you really should be doing. As long as you put that excuse right there at the forefront, you think that you're okay. But it wasn't. And there was why she was pregnant, that was kind of my transition from I'm done. I let the homies, I'm not going out to the bar anymore. I'm not doing any of that stuff anymore. It's time for me to buckle down. right?
So how old's your oldest?
11.
11 years old.
She turns 12 this year.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
And then it's been a wild decade, ever since. And so I owe a lot to my wife and to my first child for really straightening me out. That's really when I started taking money very, very seriously. Other than that, I always like money. Who doesn't,
Sure.
right? I was a good sales rep. I was making, a couple grand a week, $2,000 or $3,000 a week, but I wasn't even taking it serious, and I was making $2,000 or $3,000 a week. I was still partying, still showing up with a hangover or whatever. I just would rely on my talent, right, rather than my work ethic in terms of, getting a result that I wanted. Now, obviously, if you can combine the two, you're talented and you have a work ethic, that's when it really gets dangerous, of course. But I was relying a lot on talent. But if I would make a couple grand in a week after taxes, whatever, I'd see $1,200, $1,300, and I would see what bills I needed to pay that week. And if it was, car payment, I'd pull out a few $100 or whatever, put it off to the side, and then I'd hit up the homies.
The rest is for party.
Yeah, the rest is for a good time. We got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to blow this money because I'm going to get paid again next week. And so I was living paycheck to paycheck, but I was having a grand old time doing it. And so when I really buckled down in terms of saving money, in terms of actually having some work ethic, being disciplined, and being talented, bringing all those together, that's when things really, really changed for me. And that kind of set me up for where I'm at today.
So when did your perspective start to change on what to do with that money when it started coming in? You had the ability to make a lot of money fast. And, a lot of times people aren't around the right group of people to have the right influence to change their perspective for many, many years. So what was that for you?
I'll tell you this right now. I have an uncle, and I looked up to him quite a bit growing up because I grew up very, very poor, very poor. And he would live in the nice neighborhoods like Boulders, Eagle Ridge. And he was, those were the new neighborhoods back in the day where the rich people would live, right?
Absolutely.
And he owned Jerry S. Foot Construction, right? And he did very, very well for himself. I looked up to him a lot because I was just if it was one of my cousin's birthdays, we'd go over to the house or whatever, get together as a family. And we would just walk in this house, and it was just big, and it was beautiful. It had stairs.
It was the Foot family?
Yep. It was the Foot family, and he did very well for himself for a lot of years, but then he hit the skids, right? And so I've seen a few people make a lot of money over a period of time, and then have nothing to show for it by the time they get older because the money would slow up.
And
right?
they hadn't done anything smart with it.
And they didn't do anything smart with it.
Scary.
So when I started really taking money seriously and not just blowing it and understanding that I'm now having a family to support, I was very, very conscious of not spending that money. Purposely living a very, very low lifestyle so that I could take risks that other people couldn't take, right? So I could afford to invest 20 grand over here and take a high risk investment because even if I lose, my bills aren't that high. That investment's not going to take what I currently have away from me because my lifestyle wasn't that grand. When I started making $120,000, $130,000 a year and I started, coming into six figures and making decent money, I was driving a Mitsubishi Lancer that was $3,000 with no air conditioning. And I did that for a few years because I knew that opportunity finds one of two things. It either finds money or a skill set. That's it. Why do you think rich people get presented with opportunities all the time? Because they can bring the opportunity value. Why do you think poor people always complain? I can't catch a break. There's no opportunities. Because you don't have a specific skill set. You can't bring an opportunity any value there, and you have no money. If I'm great at marketing and you want to start a company, and you're like, look, marketing's where I fall short. I just don't know what I'm doing in that area. Maybe it would be smart for you to partner with a guy like me. You see what I'm saying? And I can use that skill set to come in and maybe have 20% equity of a company
Bring a ton of
when
value.
you're taking the majority of the risk. Maybe I'm a programmer and I can develop apps. Maybe you come to me and say, hey, Trevor, I want to develop this app. And I say, you know what, Jefferson, I'll develop that at no cost. I'll use my time and sweat equity. It was your idea. But let me build it, and let's partner together on the app. See, I don't have to have any money. I just had a skill set. and I deployed that skill set to create the opportunity for myself. Here's the issue, though. I didn't have a whole lot of skills. I wasn't the smartest guy in the whole world, right? School taught me that. If it taught me anything, it taught me that I was an idiot, right? I was dumb. My grades said so. I couldn't graduate high school on time, so I had to do packets for 6 months after. So the system told me that I was dumb, right? I wasn't going to go get a college education and be this smart guy that just was, that spoke well or this, that, the other, and was just book smart. I was street smart because I grew up very poor and I was good in sales. That was the skill that I had. But that's a skill that a lot of people have, right? And so that type of a skill set's not going to create a ton of opportunities where somebody's just going to want to give me equity because I'm just good at sales. They can hire a sales rep, just pay him a commission. So I knew for a fact that I had to put money in the bank if I wanted to create opportunities for myself. So what did we do? We lived in a $750 a month townhouse. I drove a $3,000 Mitsubishi Lancer with no air conditioning. The heater did work. I knew it was one of them that didn't work, but it was the AC that was out. The summers were brutal. My AC was me rolling the window down, so the sweat pouring down my face and down my body.
Natural AC.
Oh my God, organic as hell.
And you've been hanging on to that habit because you just barely sold a truck that you had for years and years and
8 years. I didn't sell it. I kept it.
You still got it?
It still means a lot to me. I'm very loyal to my things. I have the same chair that I sold millions of dollars in sales with. If you come into my office, I have my new chair, my old chair sitting right there, right by me. On this side, on the ground, is the computer, this big tower computer that I worked off of for 10 years that I made all my money off of.
What? So you're like a hoarder? You're keeping all this stuff? Your wife is
the cool thing about my hoarding is I keep things for so long that I don't have to hoard a whole bunch. Right? So I just don't get rid of things quickly.
Yeah. They hold that sentimental value. I'm the same way.
They do. Even when I would write my sales down and I would track my sales, I had a drawer full of the pens that I would retire once the ink was up because they were the pens that documented millions of dollars worth of sales. And so I loved to have these little things that had meaning to me, right? And so I am still very much the exact same person that I was when I was driving that Lancer. Is my income way, way, way higher? Absolutely it is. But guess what? I still live in the same house I bought for $250,000 in late 2009 or 2010. So I've lived in it for 10 years, a little over 10 years. My house payments on it's $1,280 a month, bro. All my vehicles are paid off. My cam trailer's paid off. Like literally right now, if you took all of my income away, I could live easily for probably 20 years just fine, easily. And if I really calculated it, I could probably push 30 years.
Because you got some reoccurring stuff going on, some investments. But if you took all of that
I'm saying take it all away. The money that I have in the bank right now and my expenses that I have, I can live off of $3,000 a month right now. My house payment's $1,280 a month. With a little gas, a little groceries, I'd be fine. I live off of probably 1% to 2% of my income currently, right? And I still stack cash because I still believe in that same concept that money creates opportunity. And this last year, we've invested into, Everbowl, a franchise. We've invested into the parent company. We've invested into a real estate website that wants to compete with Zillow. Just today, I went and wired money for a company called Off Court, which is a men's deodorant, body spray, soaps, almost like an Axe, right? Or Dove for men. They have like a line to compete with those brands, right? And so I instead of buying things, I get kicks out of investing it rather than purchasing it. So when I wire money,
I love that.
That's my high because I feel like I'm investing into my future and there's value in that. It's so difficult for me to spend money on things because that's not bringing me anything. It's not bringing me any value, any fulfillment, none of that. The fulfillment really comes from me. It comes from inside and how you think and feel about yourself. That's where fulfillment happens. It's not going to come from a new truck. Did I just go buy a new truck? Yeah, I did. I had an incredible year last year, and I'm like, shit, I need some write-offs, you know?
That is a good-looking truck.
You know, it is a good-looking truck, but, you know, I couldn't part with my other one because I could only get like 20 or 25 grand, and what's that going to do for me? If I already have a decent amount of money in the bank, that truck means more to me than 20 grand, right? So.
And you got that thing paid off?
Yeah, it's all paid. I paid cash for that. I wired it before I even saw the truck. I saw it on a website, and I called them and I said,
for the original one that's 8 years old.
That one I had paid off within 3 months. So I put like 10 grand down, and then I was like making payments. I'm like, I freaking hate payments. And so I was like, I am not going to deal with this. I walked in and like Mountain America. I was like, here's the other
Let's
20
just take
grand.
care of this right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So how much would you say, for the listeners out there, how important do you think that skill set is to be able to keep making money and keep stacking cash and thinking about investing instead of spending on stuff? Because most people have a really hard time with buying stuff.
Yeah, very hard time. Because they want to reward themselves for the sacrifices that they've made. They want to feel like that they're making progress, right? And so in some cases, things equal progress to people. It just depends on what your real long-term goals are. Is it really financial freedom, or is it just the fact that you just want cool stuff, right? Like my goal is financial freedom because I've watched, like I said, people that I know that were really wealthy eventually not be really wealthy. And that's one of my biggest fears because I grew up poor. Yeah. I do not ever want to live that way. If I live a meager lifestyle, it's by choice. I don't want to do it by force. Absolutely. Right? And so don't get me wrong, dude. Like I've got some things I've always wanted a house on a hill. Ever since I was little and poor, I'd drive by Stone Cliff, see the house on the hill, overlooking, you know, the city and stuff. I'm like, I'm going to have that one day. So just, you know, 6 or 7 months ago, I went and paid $500,000 cash for almost a 1 acre lot that's up on a hill. But I'm just sitting on it. Most people are going to immediately go build. Like they just can't wait. I'm very patient. Yeah. I'm like, I'll buy that cash. I'll just sit on it for a year, right. 2 years. Let's see what the price of lumber and all this stuff comes down. Yeah. I don't rush into things.
And you guys are building right now too, man. The time and attention that it takes to go build a house and make sure that it's being done right is going to take away from what you guys are doing.
Yeah, my house is fine that I live in. I mean, it's 3,500 square feet. It's big enough for my family. It's not like we're bursting out of the seams or anything like that. Yeah. But, yeah, I do want my dream home. You know, I want a big-ass house with a big pool overlooking the city. That's always been my dream, and I'm going to get it.
So is that the lot you got?
That's the lot I got. Yeah.
With the view?
With the view. I'll see every sunrise. I'll see every sunset. I can see Pine Valley from end to end. I can see all of Washington Fields, and I can see all of downtown St. George.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And so, look, making money, some people think is hard. It's really not that hard. You have to obviously level up and get some skills, right? Self-improvement is a great place to start, right? Feeding your mind full of positive stuff that's going to force you to grow. That's all fine and dandy. Once you do that, you can make money. Making money's easy, right? Not spending the money once you have it, that's where real discipline comes in. That's really the tough part, right? And so
that's some of the stuff that I'm working on with my guys. These guys coming in, making money for the first time. Yeah. And, you know, some of them have to get that time out of the way where they're just buying stuff and they see what it does for them, which is very little besides just collection of stuff. Yeah. And then you know, once you're around the right people and you're hearing the stories about the opportunities, the investments, the financial freedom, you know, a lot of these guys had just never been exposed to that. I'm sure you were there at one point too.
Absolutely.
That's why you were going out every weekend spending all that money because you didn't have any idea what else to do with it.
Exactly. I wasn't at that spot yet where I was thinking long term. Something has to snap in an individual, whether it's, you know, they find out they're going to have a family, whether, you know, and if they already have a family, they haven't figured that out, then they've got some soul searching that they need to do, right? I think if they have a family and they're not thinking that way, then they're thinking too much with their ego rather than, you know, just doing the right thing long term, right? Yeah. Are your decisions really connecting with where you want to be?
I was going to ask you also, along those same lines, how much the the coaching and the mentoring and the masterminds that you guys have started to do have helped with that mindset and that change.
Say how much have you spent on it? I thought how much. I heard how much, and then masterminds. I was like, gosh, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah.
Yes.
How much has it helped?
You gotta pay to be in front of these.
Yeah, you got to pay to play. You got to pay to play, and they've earned that right? Because they've sacrificed a lot, and they understand that being surrounded with good people is very important. And they don't want just anybody in their ecosystem or in their environment. So if they charge a pretty penny, that one separates the serious versus curious. And then secondly, you're making sure you're in a room full of killers, right? Just people that are there to do business, to network, and do it the right way. So anytime I see a mastermind or a coaching group that's expensive, I want to be a part of it because I know that the other people that are a part of it, there's going to be some deals going down, and I want to be a part of those deals. So if I have to pay to put myself in a room just so I can create more opportunities for myself and our businesses and, everything that we have going on, that's exactly what we're going to do, right? So it's been probably about 3 years or so since we started investing into these groups and going to events and things like that.
So it's 3 years now.
It's been
before that. It was just you trying to figure it all out on your own.
Yeah.
Because I remember you telling me something like this.
Yes.
Maybe like a month ago.
Yeah.
That you wish you would have done more of it earlier.
What I told you, and I said, dude, you're doing good shit. It's very impressive. I said the one thing that you did right is that you started asking for help and getting coaching and mentoring from day one or very early on in the process. I said, I wish we would have done that earlier. We'd be in a whole different situation if we would have. But, our business has over doubled in the last few years, right? Based upon, investing into groups and putting ourselves around, high power players, which ultimately force you to think a little bit bigger, right? When you started, if somebody said, hey, Jefferson, I think that you're going to be able to do $5 million a year in 5 years from now, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. But I'm in, right? And then again, once you get around some of these other people, that have planes and, they own buildings and that, they're just doing it on a whole different level. It stretches your vision. It stretches what you think is really, truly possible. Because when you get around them, they're just a normal person that's just had a little bit more discipline and consistency, and they put in more time. And so if you're in the game for 3 years and they've been in the game for 20 years, imagine what you're going to be able to do over the next 17 years if you continue doing what you're doing. You'll be where they're at, if not surpass them, right? And so that's the one thing that they have on us is time. They've just been in the game longer than us. So.
Yeah, that's I'm not sure where I got it from, but
whoever you got it from is
extremely grateful for being able to be exposed to those big thinkers early, because without it, I'd still be sitting at $1 million, stretching for $2 million, and be completely happy with it because my perspective, that's all I had ever been exposed to.
Yeah. Well, you can't have an expectation for yourself of something that you've really never been exposed to, and what you thought was good, let's say a couple $100,000 a year, or 300, 400, or whatever it is, if you can build a business doing $1 million or $2 million, it just seems like, unfathomable from day one when you first start talking about it. But again, I would recommend 100% of people to find somebody and get under their wing, right? Hang on to their coattails, however you want to put it. But if you do that, you will, without a doubt, expedite the process. I say that there's no shortcuts to success. There's just a process. But if there is a cheat code or a shortcut that exists, it's coaching and mentoring, without a doubt.
And that early on, it was a tough pill to swallow.
It is.
Because I'm spending money that I don't even have, taking a chance on something that I don't know anything about, and if this is going to work.
So much uncertainty, and that's where people want certainty prior to parting with $1, right? Like, well, what is it going to do for me? They ask 1 million questions about what's going to happen.
You saw that meme going around about the $500 client compared to the $500,000 client.
What is it?
And the $500 client is like, listen, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here, and I'm going to get all the value out of this thing. And, you know, that we got the same mission. And then the $500,000 client is like,
let's go.
Money has been deposited.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. You know, when we invested, you know, $360,000 into Everbowl, we sent the money, and I haven't texted. I haven't, you know. That's just the way it is, because in business, everybody's busy. Like and it's even with customers, right? Low-paying customers. Like if you have a product that's cheap, you're gonna deal with cheap type people, and you're gonna create more headaches for yourself. Like, right? When we first started Easier Accounting, we had a very, very low price point, and we dealt with a lot of headaches. Because they were all the newer entrepreneurs trying to milk it, you know, free consulting or whatever. You can call your accountant. And so they're just calling and calling and calling. And then if you have a price point, you take a client on that's paying $800, $900, $1,000 a month, you don't hear from them at all. They just want to get their P&Ls, and you know, when they spend the money, they're saying, I'm spending the money, I expect you to do what you said you were going to do. And then you just don't hear from them unless there's an issue, right? With people that don't have money, they want to, what's up with it? Where are we at with things? How's it looking? Can I get an update? You know, and it's just like, yeah, you can get an update. Here's your money back. Check it. Check your bank account. I wired it back because I don't want these phone calls, right? That's really what somebody should do.
Very similar in the window business, too.
Yeah.
Just from watching what other organizations have to deal with.
Yeah.
Like the onesie twosies and doing out the price shopping, and they need 3 or 4 estimates before they're going to pull the trigger on it. And those are always the ones that are going to cause you the most
Even
headache.
if they pick you, they're going to nitpick everything that you do. Hey, what is this crooked? Or is this like, is that a smudge right there? Is that a scratch? Is that a, you know,
we've dealt with them all.
Of course.
We've got a culture and environment in the way that we go about things. We're not ever going to be the cheapest.
Yeah.
But we're going to bring more value. We're going to offer better customer service after the sale, and we're going to stand behind what we do 100%. And you can't.
I can see that.
If you're going for the cheap deal, those guys are going to avoid you at all costs.
They're going to avoid you like the plague, because they don't have the financial backing to put support around you. You paid the minimum price point, so you're going to get the minimum. When you pay, the cheapest way to go is the most expensive long term. Period.
It always is.
It always is.
Yep.
You know, we bought, when we first moved into that office 5 years ago. It's 5 years ago this month. And, you know, we went from like a $4,000 a month lease to a $10,000 a month lease. We were a little nervous, scared, whatever, but we're trying to stretch ourselves. And so we had to buy all new chairs, all new computers. You know, we're not going to take a bunch of old crap from our crappy office into this brand new office, right? And so my partner, Jeremy, he bought a bunch of refurbished computers because they were cheaper. And then like a year later, half of them weren't even working. So what did we have to do?
Had to redo it again.
We had to rebuy computers again anyways that were the $500 or $600 ones, not the $350 ones. So now we spent the $350 plus the $550. So that it ended up being the more expensive route long term.
It always is, man.
It always is, 100% of the time.
I watch people do this to themselves all the time, like driving across town to the gas station that has gas for 4 cents less than the one that's right next to your house.
I don't even know what gas prices are.
I don't either anymore.
If you know what gas prices are, you don't have big enough problems. I'll tell you that right now.
Yep.
You need bigger problems than what the gas prices are. And if you're focused on gas prices and that's top of mind, then you've got issues. And the issue is a money issue, not a gas price issue. So start focusing on your money and get your money right so that you don't have to have, you know, money make your decisions for you anymore of where you're going to go to get gas to try to save $1.50 by the time you fill up.
But didn't you grow up, your family did that?
Probably. I don't know. I mean, we lived off of like the church storehouse, you know, powdered milk type stuff, getting the bread and the peanut butter, just kind of the basics, oatmeal, you know. So we grew up very, very poor. So I'm sure she did, you know, cut coupons
I remember
all that
vividly
stuff.
driving across town to go get gas at the place that was 4 cents cheaper than we're right next to our house.
And that mindset don't serve people.
No,
that don't serve people.
It's hard to overcome too. I've still got a lot of these habits that I was ingrained with as a child that are tough to get rid of.
Just trying to reprogram still, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what about the risks that you've taken over the years? What would you say is the importance of taking risks and getting out of your comfort zone?
The fact is that anytime that you're comfortable, that just means that you're doing what's familiar. And if you're doing what's familiar, that means you're always going to get whatever result that you currently have because you're doing the same shit. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I knew early on that I was going to have to, again, save money, and I was going to have to be willing to spend it. I was going to have to take risks, and I was more than willing to do that. I think the biggest risk in life is not taking any, right? That whole cliche thing. 100%. Because if you don't take a risk, look around. Look around your environment right now. Look at the car you drive. Look at the house that you live in. Look at the problems that you have or the struggles that you're currently dealing with. Get used to those, because that's your forever situation if you're not willing to get uncomfortable. I would rather not be uncomfortable due to the fact that I've got past due bills, or I've got to try to keep the lights on, or I've got to figure out what gas station's the cheapest so that I can drive across town. That to me is uncomfortable. That's far more uncomfortable to me than taking a little bit of a risk. It's just money. Why are we putting so much weight on a dollar? Like it's just money. Mm-hmm. Okay? Look at it like a little army. Deploy your army. Let it go catch the prisoners and bring back more bodies. In other words, more bills. If you're not deploying anything, there's no opportunity, right? And so to me it's just insane that people, I don't know, that's just really scary. I'm like, well, good. That's a sign that you should do it. The only reason why it's scary is not because it's actually scary. It's just scary because it's unfamiliar to you.
Absolutely.
And if it's unfamiliar to you, that's a sign that you should do it so that you can get an unfamiliar result. Like actually making real money. So staying uncomfortable has been kind of the theme, like literally hiring a videographer. Like, I don't want to hire a videographer to come record us talking. Like, that wasn't comfortable to me. But what are successful people doing? They write a book. They have videographers. They have podcasts. They go deep on social media. They spend money on social media to build a brand and become an authority in their industry. Mm-hmm. It's laid out right there in front of everybody to see. You got to emulate it. You got to emulate it. It's already written. Just take a page out of that book. And so, again, hiring a videographer, very uncomfortable. We didn't know what the heck we were going to do with him. Like, we're not Gary Vee. We're not Ed Milet, right? All of these thoughts start creeping into your mind where you start comparing yourself to the people at the very tip top. I don't have to be Ed Milet or Gary Vee.
That's a dangerous trap right there.
I could be number 100 on the charts and still be balling out. Of course I want to be number one. But I think too many people, when they compare themselves, they go directly to the top and associate who in their mind is the best at whatever they're thinking about.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
If it's a singer, if you want to sing, well, I'm not as good as Beyonce, or I'm not as good at, you're going to look at the person that's topping the charts. There's plenty of people underneath Beyonce that are still worth tens of millions of dollars. You don't have to compare yourself to the number one person, because when you do that, then the fear and the anxiety kind of kicks in a little bit.
But it didn't stop you from doing much, because you guys still went for it.
We still went for it, dude. We still went for it, and it was very, very, very uncomfortable.
Has it been 2 years now since you guys pulled the trigger on that?
It's been 3. We went to a Gary Vee event January, I think, 21st of 2018.
Wow.
And he went on stage and said, the reason why this is called Agent 2021 is because I'm no longer going to have this conference after year 2021, because the information I'm about to share with you will be common knowledge by then. I'm giving you guys access to information 2 to 3 years prior to it being 100% relevant to everybody. And we weren't even supposed to be there, dude. We were an accounting firm, and it was for real estate agents, insurance agents. That's why it was called Agent 2021.
So how did you end up being there?
Well, we did a little bit of business with the Vaynerchuks, with Vayner Sports. We hired one of their athletes, and we flew out there, met AJ Vaynerchuk, his brother, toured the facilities, all that good stuff. And then they're like, hey, we're doing this over here. You know, if you guys are interested, come check it out and say hi or whatever. And it was just like, nah, whatever, that's stupid. It has nothing to do with who we are and what we do. But Kel just had this, like, he just kept feeling this feeling. He's like, we just need to go, dude. He's like, I'm gonna book the tickets. Like, I just have a feeling that we need to be there. He didn't know why or there was no rhyme or reason to it. Accounting firm should not be at that event, but we did it anyways. Kel decided that this is something we were gonna do, so we packed up. We went to Miami, and we went to Agent 2021, and he stood on stage and said, if you're making decent money right now, peel off, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month and hire a videographer and start recording videos right now. And I will guarantee you that 95% of the people sitting in that audience didn't do it.
Absolutely.
We went home and me and Kel were talking about it. We're like, dude, we should do that. We should do that. And we're like, yeah, we're going to do that. And it was like March. So exactly almost 3 years.
Jumped right in.
No, we didn't. We were going to start putting an ad out. And guess what happened? A kid came to interview for a sales job, and he said he was going to college. He couldn't start for a couple months. I said, what the hell are you going to college for? And then you're trying to come into sales. You don't need to go to college to be in sales. He's like, well, I promised my mom I would get a degree, but whatever, da, da, da. Huh. And so I wanted to honor that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What are you getting a degree in? He's like, film, videography. I get on my phone. I'm like, Cal, there's a videographer sitting in my office wanting a sales job right now. He's like, are you going to hire him to do videography? I'm like, yes. And he's like, do it. So literally, as we started putting it out into the universe, from like the January 20th to early, so that month and a half, we just kept talking about, we need to put an ad out. We're going to do this, or whatever. And then Homeboy came to us.
Was that Austin?
No, it wasn't Austin.
It was another guy.
It was Ethan. And then like 4 or 5 months later, Ethan was going to move to Salt Lake, and he says, I have a buddy that I went to school with. And he's really good. He's the guy that I turn to when I need editing advice. I'm like, all right, call him in here or whatever. And so we call him in. I'm like, you're hired. And so that's how we have Austin now. So, but still, that same individual, it was like destiny. It just came and sat in our lap, which is very, very rare. But we kept putting it out there. We kept putting it out there. Yes, we're gonna do it. And maybe our bitch ass just didn't pull the trigger, and the universe is like, look, you idiots. If you're not going to do it, here's the gift. We're going to send you the guy that you're going to hire that's going to start this whole machine that you're going to build.
Wow. And it's been a wild 3 years now. You guys have put out some serious content. And then Real Business Owners wasn't even on the radar yet at that point, was it?
No, we didn't start Real Business Owners till a year later. Because our Instagram got shut down. We had an Easier Accounting Instagram that we were filming for, and we were putting the content on there, and then it got taken. I logged in one day, and it said, no account. It didn't exist. And I was like,
did they ever give you an explanation of why they did it?
They said, see our guidelines, community guidelines. And I said, what does that even mean? Like, the guidelines are like this huge, like I can scroll for days on their guidelines. Like, they got everything in their guidelines. So which one of those guidelines did I break? And I even was like messaging back and forth because they don't give you a phone number to call. So you can chat with Facebook on Messenger.
But they were never able to give you a straight answer.
They never did. They said, see guidelines.
And the page is gone.
It was gone.
Everything that you put into that.
I put $30,000, or we put $30,000 into that page, growing that page, because I was learning. I was figuring it out, right? So I was spending money, losing money, gaining the education side of it, of the do's and don'ts of how to grow an Instagram account, right? And then when that got taken away, I was like, it was like a blow from hell, dude. Like, the wind was out of my sails, and it was like, we've invested this. We got up to like 10,000 followers. We're starting to get some traction here with this thing.
Yeah. And
then all of a sudden it's gone. And so I was bummed out for a couple days, but I just kind of tried to stay positive. I was like, look, this is happening for us, not to us. There's a reason behind this, and I just don't know yet.
That's wild.
And so I wanted to keep an open mind. If I stayed negative on what happened, the fences are up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow any new ideas or any creative juices to start flowing. If I'm so focused on the issue, how is a solution going to pop in my mind?
Mm-hmm.
So I opened up my mind a little bit, and then I remembered the story of The Rock. He was sitting on a balcony talking about his story of getting cut from the NFL and then the CFL, and his dream was over. It was crushed. It was like the worst thing that ever happened to him. But then he goes on to say, then I did this and this, started wrestling, then turned actor, and that negative moment was one of the biggest blessings of my life. And so I was like, we're going to turn the negative into a positive. We're going to turn it, I don't know how yet, but I know this is happening for a reason. It's rerouting us. I just don't know where yet. And then within a few weeks, I came up with the concept of real business owners. And I kept talking to Kel and Jared, and I was like, hey, guys, I have an idea. And it was like for a week. I was like, I've got an idea. Like, when you guys we all need to come together. I got to pitch you on this idea. I think I've got it. And I came up with like a list of a few different names. It was like owners and operators, because we own businesses and operate the businesses.
Absolutely.
I came up with real business owners, because we're real business owners. And there was like another 2 or 3 on there or something. And I was kind of going down the list with them when we finally got together. And then Kel's like, real business owners, dude, that's it. And he's like, is that even available? And I said, yeah, it's available. He's like, save it. So I saved it. And then that was roughly about 2 years ago.
Yeah. How many followers do you guys have now?
Over 91,300. So in about 21, 22 months.
And how many messages a day do you respond to?
Oh my God, bro!
Because you're running that
my
account.
neck right here, dude. Oh, staring down at that damn phone. I'll tell you what, I spend 5 to 6 hours a day on my phone. You know, your phone tells you your daily time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I spend 5 to 6 hours on that thing. It's exhausting, without a doubt. But at the same time, like, I remember following people that had like 60,000 followers, and I would love to just get like a knuckles from them, or if I send them a DM, like never get anything, bro. Nothing. But if I got like even something, even a knuckles in the DM, like, hey man, love your stuff, like keep it up, so motivated. If I even got a like or a knuckles or something, it was just like, holy shit, they commented back, you know? And so it was like an exciting thing for me. And so I'm like, try to keep that close to heart. And I'm like, all these people don't have to support us. They're choosing to support us. So I want to show love back, and it should be a two-way street. You know, I'm going to do it as long as I possibly can before I just get straight up exhausted. But, I mean, it depends on the day, dude. It depends on the stories that I post and things like that. But it's not uncommon that I'm commenting. I mean, in some cases we get, 80 comments on a post. So I'm commenting 80 comments back, and then we could have 60 to 100 DMs a day that I'm also commenting back to. Now, imagine if that was emails. Right, if you had 60 to 100 emails a day that you had to reply back to. Now, again, it's not as lengthy as an email, because, it's
just
like, hey, appreciate you, bro. Like, keep doing your thing. I see you, right? Just letting them know
I know
I
if
see
I ever
you,
post
right?
on your guys' stuff, that I'm going to get a response. And
Dude,
I have every single time.
You're going to get a response, because it's just a standard that I'm trying to hold in terms of showing love back, right? It's just really about the people that are supporting us. And they, I hate pages that have like tons of followers, and they just don't even give any of their followers zero attention. It's like they just are expected. Mm-hmm. And I hope one day that, that changes, where all these people kind of wake up a little bit and like, I'm supporting a bunch of fucking people that don't even support me. And then they just max exodus of all these stupid Instagram accounts that are just, they're there to take.
There's a lot.
They're there to take, right? They're going to post this, hey, this is for sale, swipe up, buy this, buy that. But they're not showing any love to the people that are making them all this money, And it's just like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, I love that.
At least hire a damn virtual assistant or something. Make it look like it. I mean, it's pretty easy to do. I don't do it. But you could pay somebody freaking $5 an hour in the Philippines to just give somebody a like.
Huh.
Do something.
Yeah, I think that's cool how you do that. And I hear, I don't watch much Gary Vee stuff anymore, but he's got a ridiculous amount of followers.
I know.
And he tries to do the same thing, like answer every single
He tries, yeah.
DM, every single comment.
It's tough. But and I know a few people that are high up there in terms of followers that still control their account, like personally, because they want the messages to come from them, so it's authentic and it's genuine. Because if it is a virtual assistant, they're not gonna speak like you, right?
Yep.
So they'll know something's off.
So, man, this has been awesome. I think one of the questions that I was nervous to ask you, because I know you're like a macho, masculine dude.
Mm-hmm. Send it, bro. I don't give a shit. I'm an open book.
What are some of your insecurities? Come on, man. It's all right to get vulnerable here on the Jefferson Rogers podcast.
It's all good. I don't have a lot of them, but I think 100% of people still worry a little bit about what people think of them.
Yeah.
You know, when you're again in a setting like this, I don't give a shit because I don't have like a million eyeballs on me. But like stepping on stage and speaking on stage, that still frightens me. But that's how I've always been as well. Even when I played baseball as a kid, like I always would get nervous because I just wanted to perform and I wanted to perform well, right? I wanted to do my part. And so I still get paralyzed by fear a little bit in terms of the stage. That's the only thing that has my number right now. That's my only, like, that I wouldn't say only insecurity, but that's like my biggest one. And that I know that demon right there is the demon that I need to overcome. Right, and I'm getting much more comfortable with the idea and the concept. Like we've done, master classes for different companies. We went and spoke for the sales reps over there at Summit Athletic Club, trying to help them, get going. And so, but we're doing some of this stuff, right? At Summit, I just did it for free because it's just practice, right? And then we purposely get our big teams together or groups together of our company just so that I can practice with a big group of people.
And are you getting up on stage at the blue collar
event?
event?
Yeah, and I have no idea what the hell I'm going to say yet.
Dude, that's a big
But it's
big
all good.
Crowd.
It's all good. I don't give a shit anymore because I'm starting to feel far more confident with it, right? And it's like I've got all these people that support this page, support me and Kel. I mean, obviously there's something there, but no matter how much you try, sometimes that old self-identity kind of comes back. Like, you grew up poor, man. Like, you didn't do good in school. You were a drug addict. You were like a piece of shit, right? And so no matter how much you grow, sometimes that ugliness can still kind of peek back up every so often, right? Like, is somebody going to find out? Like, even though I'm open about it, right? Like, I'm very open about my past and all the negative things. And, but there's just, I think that just completely killing that old identity of the person that I used to be is something that I'm still struggling with a little bit. And it's still an insecurity of mine. That all these people think that I'm just so great at this point. And now it's like, I have to live up to that, right? Like, when am I going to fall or this, that, the other, right? So there's some insecurities there. How am I going to continue to create content that's going to keep 90,000 people engaged that love the page? And sometimes I look at a video, I'm like, I don't know if I should even post it. I don't like that. And then it's always the ones that I think that, and I post it that gets the best responses. It's so weird, dude. And I'm like, I don't even like that video. And then the ones I'm like, this one's a banger. It's gonna blow up the internet. If we're gonna go viral, it's gonna be this one. And it's like crickets. It's like, what? What are you guys thinking?
People like the vulnerability.
Yeah, no, they do.
Real.
I'll tell you this much, dude. I haven't been that vulnerable of an individual because my dad left at a very young age, and so ever since then, I've kind of put up walls and put up boundaries and barriers because it's like, if somebody at that level of your life is willing to leave you high and dry, why the hell wouldn't you or anybody else, right? That's a parent. Like, I couldn't fathom doing that to my kids. And so after that situation happened, I kind of built a wall around my heart in terms of like vulnerability. I don't care. Emotion's gone. It's out the window. I don't give a shit. And I did an ayahuasca, like a year and a half ago, and went through this like mental journey or whatever in my head. And it was like, it's pretty eye opening. And I didn't go there for the whole dad thing, bouncing or whatever, but it came up.
Brought up some
of the old past stuff. Yeah. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, well, he didn't leave me. It's not like he's made a conscious decision one day. It's like, I'm going to leave Trevor. I'm like, I was too young. I don't know what was going on in his head or in his life or in his mind. But,
Wow.
you know, he was weak and he bounced out of a situation and abandoned his children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not on me. And if I continue to live a life where I build these boundaries around my heart, then I'm not going to be able to love my family as much as I should. And I'm going to teach them that this is what love is. Half-hearted love. I can't do that because then it can become generational. So I started unraveling all these thoughts during this ayahuasca, and it just kept coming back. Just love, right?
Absolutely.
Take the walls down, because you're damaging your kids based upon a situation that you felt your dad abandoned you. No, he abandoned everything as a whole and just left because he's a weak person. He couldn't hack it. That's not on me. But I carried that for so many years.
Have you been in touch with him, your dad?
Not often. Not often. It doesn't mean I forgive the guy.
Right.
I don't forgive because I will never fully understand that. I saw him just the other day for like the first time in like a year.
He's here in town?
He was, because my aunt passed away like 2 days ago of cancer, and that was his sister, right? And so he was like, hey, I'm in town with grandma, whatever. The only reason why I let him come around is because of my grandma. And I want my grandma to be able to see my kids. But I don't respect the man. You know what I mean? He still abandoned his family as a whole, not just Trevor, which is the way that it felt for a period of time. But I was young, man.
Yeah.
I was 12 or so. And that's a pretty prime age for a boy when he's starting to turn from a boy to figuring things out. Armpit hair coming in, you know what I mean? Things are starting to happen, but I didn't have that guidance, right? And so it was just a weird time that it all happened. And so I think that's why it affected me the way that it did. But again, that's a little more vulnerable right there.
That,
you want
dude.
a little vulnerability?
That.
That's a little vulnerability right there for you. But at the end of the day, you know, there's going to be bad things that happen to everybody in their life. But you can't hold on to that forever, because you're ultimately going to affect the other people that you actually care about and that you truly love. And you're not going to be able to love them as wholesome as you should be able to if you're harboring, you know, this fence or wall around your heart based upon something that somebody else did. I'm not going to let him control how I care for my kids or love my family.
Yeah, I think that's do you feel like your dad leaving you has had something to do with
Proving?
Probably. And who you've become today?
Probably. I don't doubt it. I would give credit to two things. Growing up very poor. When you grow up poor, you can't ask your parents for anything. You can't ask them for money, but you still want to go kick it with your homies, right? So if my tire popped on my bike and it was $5 for a new tube, our lights were getting shut off. I was watching my mom cry to the utility departments, begging for them to keep the lights on because she's got 7 kids in the house. I'll pay you $50 on Friday when I get paid. Could you please turn the light? I already knew that wasn't a source for money.
Right.
So if I had a problem, I had to fix it. So I had to go, whatever, mow lawns in the neighborhood, push the lawnmower around, knock door to door sales guy, right? You know, and kick up $5, I'll mow your lawn. You know, I'd go down to the golf course at Green Springs, digging through bushes with a backpack on and throw the golf balls in my backpack. And then what I would do is I'd go home, I'd pour them all out, I'd polish them all up, and I'd hit the golf course again on Saturday and Sunday, open up my backpack, 4 for $1. When they'd be cruising by, I'd pop out of a bush, right? And so I would earn whatever, $15-20 on a Saturday, because I had to earn everything that I got, right? And so I think that is one of the reasons that put me in the situation that I'm in, because I don't turn external and say, hey, what can you do for me? If I want something, I got to figure it out. I'm not going to, that's the way that I was programmed.
Absolutely.
That's the way that I was raised. And then having somebody bounce out, right? Old Pops, leave the situation. Like, I'm sure that had something to do with it. Like a big fuck you. Like, I'm going to make it, and I'm going to make it big. And you'll see it. You'll see it from afar, and you're gonna watch it, and you're gonna wish that you would have had some different actions. And he still hasn't apologized for any of that stuff.
Really?
I'm waiting for him to man up and apologize for some of it.
Do you think you'll ever forgive him?
No. No.
You're gonna hold that negativity with you?
It's not. No. Like, I'm never gonna forgive somebody that abandons their family. Like, that's just like, there's a few things, right? If you're gonna killing, I'm not gonna forgive somebody if they're a killer or abandoning people that they shouldn't be abandoning. That's just not what it is. But I'm not gonna harbor like ill intentions or hate towards them or anything like that. Like, but am I gonna be massively successful? Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna be massively successful. And you know, if he got to a point where he actually wants to have that real conversation, and he wants to say, hey, there's something weird going on between us, you know, because he knows it, you know, he's happy birthday or whatever, a text, or no text back. You know, he knows that there's something up. And it's like, I'm going to have to get to the point where I'm going to have to say, we need to have a conversation. And I need to tell you exactly why I do what I do. And I need to tell you exactly why I'm not letting you in my life or in my kids' life, because you abandoned me, and I'm not going to let you abandon my kids. I'm not going to let you enter their life, and then all of a sudden something else happened. You know, he didn't show up to my sister's wedding because he married a lady, and the lady said, pick this family or pick that family. You choose. He chose the other family. So he didn't even show up to my sister's wedding. So there's a couple different things that I just don't accept. I could never see me missing my daughter's wedding. I'd move the fucking earth to make sure that I'm at my daughter's wedding.
That's wild.
That's just what it comes down to. So I think when we have that conversation, it's probably going to have to come from me, just so that he understands why I act the way that I act and why I do what I do, and he can come up with whatever situation and saying, here's why. Maybe there is stuff that I don't know that he was going through or don't. I think
that would be a worthwhile conversation for you boys.
Yeah.
Get some stuff off your
my
chest.
aunt's funeral's on Monday, and he's going to be down. So maybe that's when the conversation happens, right? But I think he deserves to at least know why I feel the way that I do. But I thought he would just kind of man up and say, hey, I'm sorry that I wasn't there when you were a drug addict. I'm sorry I wasn't there for all your baseball games. I'm sorry I wasn't that, that I just met. Like,
some people don't have it in them, man.
It's not that difficult to apologize. An apology can go much farther than a lot of people realize. Anybody listening, if you wronged somebody or did something, I'm telling you, send them a text message and apologize for anything, because it goes a long way. People know that it takes a lot to you got to put your whole ego aside to apologize. And so, eating a slice of humble pie and admitting when you're wrong, that's a big deal. And people will be receptive to that.
It can save a relationship.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Just a simple apology.
And it's a big weight off your shoulders, too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No use hanging on to that negativity.
I fucking keep that chip on my shoulder a little bit, dog. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's too much. All right, so one last thing before we wrap this thing up. This is it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Great conversation.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be we're going to get some good feedback on this one.
Good. I hope so.
But one question I wanted to leave everybody off with was, and I'm sure you've been asked this before, but the audience is entrepreneurial.
Okay.
They want to do something. They're
Okay.
maybe at a time in their life where they're stuck and they don't know what to do. They feel like they're doing all the right things, but nothing's working out. What is that one thing that there's so many different things, but just off the top of your head, what is that one thing somebody could start doing different today that could change where they're at in 1 year from now?
Start networking. Start shaking more hands, getting to know more people. Without a doubt, the coaching and the mentoring. Ask for help. Right? If you're stuck in a situation, like if you're stuck in quicksand and you're slowly sinking and your business is sitting there sinking, like, if you're sinking as a human being and you're standing right there, I'm going to ask for your help. Why are you so prideful if your business is stuck?
People struggle with that, asking for help.
They need to ask for help. Secondly, I would tell them if they don't have the financial backing to get help, start being very aware of the things that you're putting into your mind. Your mind is simply just a computer, and it can be reprogrammed. Okay, something's off. You're not seeing something in your business. You have the wrong perspective. And when you change the way you think, you're going to change your perspective on a situation. And so when you're leveling up, even through basic content, reading a book, it doesn't matter what it is. Podcasts like the one that you guys are listening to right now, right? All of these things move the needle just a little bit. And it's finding ways to move the needle. Secondly, I would say that they need to check their habits. All you are is an individual that's created based upon the habits that you've had in your past. And you could change your habits at any time. You have full control of your effort. You have full control over your passion. And those are two things that don't cost you anything. Create a routine that you know is healthy. Like, we can choose to listen to a podcast or read, but what do most people do? They choose to watch TV. We can choose to listen to the radio on the way to work or music, or we can choose to listen to a podcast. What do most people do? Radio. There's so many different things, right? We can choose to eat shit or we can choose to eat healthy. People don't understand the power of choice. If somebody's in a shitty situation, it's because they've made a bunch of shitty choices. There's no other way to slice and dice it. It's as simple as that.
Start making better choices.
Start making better choices. Create new habits. Find a routine that you know will serve you. Maybe not on day 2 or day 20, but over a period of 60 days, 6 months, 6 years.
Small, you're going to be incremental changes.
Without a doubt. Everybody, 100% of human beings are 1 to 2 habits away from a completely different life. Guaranteed. Just 1 or 2 different habits.
But we get stuck doing the same
We get stuck
stuff
in the familiar because it's
comfortable.
Because it's what you know.
Yep. Get out of your comfort zone. Start today. You don't have to take down the entire goal list in 1 month.
Without a doubt,
Start
dude.
small.
Too many people are thinking way too big in terms of like, man, I'd love to get there. That would be so awesome. And then they do nothing about it. Reverse engineer it. It's not that difficult. You grew a company 3 years to $10 million. I can easily see what you're doing. Weird. Jefferson wakes up early in the morning and he exercises. He has a couple of these. He hires coaches and mentors. It's out in the open. Yep. All the stuff that you're doing, but you did it for 3 years straight. And you see, it's like interest. Compounding is real. It has a compound effect to it. Just waking up early and exercising and practicing a little gratitude will change your perspective on life in general, which ultimately means you have a completely new life, right?
Absolutely.
1 or 2 habits away from a different life, period. Find 1 or 2 habits that you can change right now, and it doesn't have to be large. Even when I first started working out with Bob, people were like, hey, did you tell him to start eating clean and doing it? No. I said, just show up every single day at this time. I needed him to create 1 new habit, and that's it. So once I created that to be a habit, what do? You introduce 1 new habit, because now that's just what he does. I do not have to text him the night before and say, are you going to be there? 6 a.m.? Question? No. We don't have to communicate. I know where he's going to be. He knows where I'm going to be. It just is what it is. That's now just something that you do without even thinking about it.
It is.
It's just a part of your life.
It's crazy how it happens.
Then you enter something that's new that you have to consciously think about.
And just rinse and repeat.
Do that until it's normal. And then add 1 more. If everybody focused on 1 new positive habit a year, in 3 years they have 3 brand new positive habits that are just a part of their life is going to be completely different.
Have you heard of that book, The Mini Habits?
I haven't.
So it's a cool book, same concept. Starting small, like reading 1 page a day and doing it consistently. And once you start doing 1 page a day and you're consistent with it, it's hard to stop at 1 page, especially if you're reading a good book.
Yeah.
And do 1 push-up a day just to create the habit. And do it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And once you've been doing it for a while, it's hard to do just 1 push-up. And now you've developed a habit of doing push-ups. When I first started going back to the gym after 8 years of being married and not really giving a shit whether I was in shape or not, I had to just start the habit back up. And it was, for me, it was 45 minutes just going laying on the grass and creating the habit of getting back to the gym. I didn't even touch a weight for 3 months. Just had to get back there. I knew I wanted to do it, but I wasn't ready to jump all in and do the meal plans and do the protein and all the supplements.
That just it's a lot coming at you once, and it gets overwhelming, and then people quit and give up because they're like, I can't do this because they're taking on so much at once. Successful people are only successful based upon their habits, and that's it. So people look at the end result and like, I want that, and they just can't figure out how to get it. And all you need to do is look at that person's habit and say, wow, they did that for 20 years straight. So if I focus just today on waking up early, practicing gratitude, listening to good content, potentially if I financially can afford it, getting a coach or mentor, and I did that every single day for a couple years, again, that's going to compound, and you're going to be somewhere where you don't even recognize. And so
100%.
Just control the day every single day and control it through your habits, and then time will take care of everything else, right?
Absolutely.
So
it's got to start somewhere, though. I've met and been exposed to a lot of youngsters coming in and having big dreams and aspirations and pages of goals, and they talk to you about how fast they're going to accomplish them, and then it's some encouraging words and get them moving in the right direction, but also giving them a little taste of reality. Like, listen, I understand you want to accomplish big things, but you have got to start somewhere. And it starts by changing those little things in your life that are going to lead to be able to have those big goals accomplished. You're not going to be able to get them done in 1 month.
If you do all the little things right, the big things usually kind of start happening.
They will play themselves out.
They will start happening.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you guys got some value out of this. This was a fantastic show. Episode number 3, the Jefferson Rogers podcast. Trevor Cowley, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It was fun. Enjoyed it.
Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. We've got the page up on YouTube, and we're going to be doing one of these every single week for the foreseeable future, and excited to bring more value and keep getting better at this thing. We're 3 episodes in.
Continue to tune in. This is exactly what we just talked about on the podcast, creating a habit. Your new habit is to tune into Jefferson Rogers podcast every single week so that you're adding value to your life rather than sitting there binging on Netflix for an hour that's not even serving you. All it takes is one sentence to change somebody's life, to spark that thing. Everybody has a fire in them. It's just a little ember, and it just takes that one sentence that connects with you. That's the log on the fire that creates that burn inside of you that's ultimately going to change your life.
Yep.
You just don't know where you're going to get
That's what I'm doing this for, man. That's what I love about
the
getting the message out there, telling the story, bringing other inspirational stories in here, because you never know. You may have heard the same type of story and the same inspirational things over and over.
It's the way somebody says it. It could be
you never know when it's going to click.
Game changer. Andy Frisella and Ed Milet said when you get to our level and you try to read a book, we've done everything in those books. It's very difficult to try to even get value out of a book. All I look for is one sentence. That's it. Too many people are trying to pull out life-changing value out of one book. He said find 1 or 2 sentences that can add value to your life and implement that into your life. But when you get to a 10-figure or 9-figure business, all you're doing is finding those little inches, that one sentence that can click and change something for you.
And that's the key here, people. If you got something today and you leave here and don't do anything about it, you just wasted your time.
Your future self's waiting for you to kick you in the ass, or your future self's waiting for you to thank you. That's the only 2 options. So,
yes, let it be the positive one. So
Absolutely.
Take something that you learn every single day and apply it towards becoming the best version of yourself.
Amen.
That person is waiting for you at the end of the line.
Amen.
Let's go, people.
Preach the good word, bruh.